Hi everybody, I saw Toy Story 5 last night, and I really liked it. There wasn't nearly enough screen time for Forky, but other than that, it was great. As soon as they revealed the premise for this movie, I was in. I'm like, sweet, we're doing the iPad Kids movie, that's awesome. And I think everybody felt the same way. Like, this is just a really smart and creative idea to use the world of Toy Story to explore the ways in which technology is destroying us and what we've lost because of it. All of the marketing for this movie made it very clear that there was going to be this villainous iPad character that was going to come in, take over Bonnie's life, and threaten the toys in the room. My question or curiosity going into the movie was how it was going to end. Like, would this iPad be the villain the entire time and end up defeated at the end, kind of like Lotso in Toy Story 3? Or would she get redeemed and have like a team-up moment with the toys in whatever the final action scene was? Because the difference between those two scenes is a very big deal. One is saying the technology is ultimately the villain of our society and needs to be abolished. The other is saying, hey, this has really destructive effects on us, but it's not evil in and of itself, and we just need to give it its proper place in the world. So spoilers for Toy Story 5. If you haven't seen it yet and you want to be surprised, pause this video, come back, watch it later. Okay, so they go with the redemptive ending for the iPad. The iPad, I gotta stop calling it the iPad. The lily pad, they call it the lily pad. The lily pad fails in its mission to make Bonnie a friend. The main dramatic tension of the story is that Bonnie doesn't have friends. She's shy. She has a hard time connecting with the kids across the street. She wants someone to play with. The lily pad tries to make Bonnie a friend, but she connects her with other iPad kids, and they all get in a group chat together, and Bonnie gets bullied in a group chat, and it crushes her. And this is so relatable and real in our world, right? Like, we've been talking about cyberbullying for over a decade now. It's a very real thing. And I think it's really cool that this movie is exploring it. The kids are gonna get to see this idea explored in this movie. Kids that are inevitably going to experience bullying online in some way at some point in their lives. So Bonnie is crushed by these girls being mean to her. And then the iPad, rather than digging her heels in and becoming, even more evil and powerful and trying to fix the problem, she basically repents and laments. Like, she basically sees the emotional distress that Bonnie is in, recognizes that it's her fault, and then sacrificially donates herself in order to save Bonnie. Long story short, the toys go after her, she ends up getting redeemed, and they all team up to connect Bonnie with this really sweet, like, horse girl that we meet halfway through the movie, who ends up being kind of a kindred spirit with Bonnie, and is still interested in playing with these analog toys. And then, in the final moments of the movie, Bonnie and this girl take a selfie on the lily pad. Like, the lily pad is clearly still a part of Bonnie's life. It's a part, she's welcomed into, by the other toys in the room. And that's the movie. Now, I think you could take a really cynical reading of the fact that the technology ends up not being evil in the movie. Disney is not a tech company, but they are adjacent to a lot of tech companies, and technology is essential to their business model. Also, Pixar was financially founded by Steve Jobs, the inventor of the iPad. So it would have been pretty weird if at the end of the movie, the toys were just like dancing around on the broken screen of Lilypad. However, all that aside, I think there is something really meaningful and profound about how the movie ends, which is with technology being a part of these girls' lives and it being integrated into their friendship in a seemingly healthy way. One of the weirdest things about us as a society right now is that we are all very aware of the ways in which technology is destroying us, all while spending hours a day doom scrolling. Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, makes an airtight case that something needs to change. And I think we all know that something needs to change, especially in how we let kids interact with technology and the role it plays in their lives. Like, adults should ultimately have the freedom to be online as much as they want and however they want, with some glaring exceptions. But we can regulate the way kids are allowed to use technology, the same way we do with drinking or drugs or driving, right? We don't let kids do these things until a certain age. And I think that is reasonable because we understand the destructive effects that they have. But the reason I'm making this video is that I don't think the problem is technology. The problem is the human condition, and technology accentuates and intensifies the brokenness that we already have in our hearts and in our relationships with one another. And that, I think, is what Toy Story 5 is about. Because what is Bonnie experiencing in the first moments of the movie? She's experiencing fear of putting herself out there and making a connection with these kids across the street. She's in a place of lack. She's in a place of need. And when she goes over to the sleepover with the girls from dance class, what is she experiencing? She's embarrassed about the fact that she still plays with toys. Going a little deeper, she's insecure about her identity. And that's ultimately what breaks her in the group chat. It's not the technology, it's the girls in this group chat, right? Technology is just the platform on which it happens. It's the medium through which it happens. But this kind of brokenness in our relationships has been a thing since sin entered the world. Technology makes relational brokenness worse because it further separates people who are already being separated by their own insecurities and doubts. And just like technology is not really the problem at the beginning of the movie, it's also not the solution at the end of the movie. The solution at the end of the story is courage. It's Bonnie's courage to be herself with Blaze. And once they make a connection in the real world and establish a relationship there, higher, then technology can become an element in that relationship. But I don't know if technology is enough to sustain a relationship. I don't even know if it's enough to sustain 1/10 the relationship. And if you're gonna try, like if you're gonna be in like a long distance friendship, it requires a tremendous amount of intentionality. I know for me, there have been times when a friend texts me in a weird way by accident, or doesn't respond for a while, or makes a typo that changes the meaning of a text, and it creates anxiety in me. But if I was more secure in my relationship with that person and in just my identity and intrinsic worth as a human, that wouldn't happen. Overall, I think social media and internet and iPads, I do think they are having a negative effect on society, but I think it's important that we understand what is actually happening, which is they are revealing brokenness that was already there in a way that nothing else has before. I want to highly recommend Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation. I read it 2 or 3 years ago. I'm probably due for a reread. It's really good. He makes, like I said, an airtight case, a very incisive case about how technology is impacting us and some of the very practical steps we can take to protect our kids from the harmful and destructive effects of technology in their lives.